Welcome to How to Money with Cole and Cole.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Cole.
We coach people every day on their money and how to plan for the future.
As financial advisors, we're here to have an honest conversation and educate you on investing, retirement, and everything in between. And we'll throw in some sports talk along the way.
Our mission and goal of this podcast is to improve your money journey and help you create the financial life you deserve.
So let's talk money.
And sports.
Welcome back to How to Money with Cole and Cole. I am Bailey Ashbrook, investment advisor representative at Central Financial Group, and today's not my birthday.
Do you want to talk about your wingspan though?
Well, today might be the first day I'm not the best basketball player in the room.
Shots taken already.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Jeez.
Cole Peterson, investment advisor representative at Central Financial Group, and also not my birthday, and I do not have a great wingspan. And you got
alligator
somebody else theirs might be his birthday.
Cole Jaskey, financial advisor. It is my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
I requested pizza tonight. I was telling everyone before the podcast.
What are you, 25?
That's always my request. Is pizza.
Yeah, every
I
day.
wish. It's like you start to get the age where you're like, whatever.
Doesn't even matter after 21, does it?
I love pizza, though. So
Me too. Happy birthday.
so that's my request. That's
Oh yeah.
pizza and
For sure.
cupcakes.
Caleb Westall.
They almost
Yeah, they
No,
did.
I was waiting. There was
It's kind of the
pause.
running. It's kind of the running joke
Yes,
now, though.
just forget about me. Caleb
Yeah.
Westall, producer of How to Money with Cole and Cole. It is not my birthday, and I'm here. So
Yeah,
it's great.
We're excited.
Awesome.
I'm excited. We have a guest today, our first repeat guest. First time coming back. He also has my back because I couldn't be here last time he was on. Had my back, said I was better than you guys at basketball, I think, or something along those lines.
That's right.
I forgot about that.
Shoot.
You would bring that up.
I listened to it yesterday. You asked me to listen to it, so I did. So I'm excited. We'll get him on here in a couple minutes, so don't leave. But little sport.
What do you want to tell him who it is? I don't think it
John
says his name.
Engler.
John Engler at Johnson Law.
Yeah, we're excited. Talk about.
Specializes in wills, trusts, estate planning.
Yeah, he's probably smarter than us.
Oh, well, for sure.
Yeah,
That's why we're having him on.
yeah.
Gotta
His,
surround you-
his
gotta
wingspan is pretty long.
Yeah.
We did say we got some like basketball length in this room.
Yeah.
Maybe besides Cole's small wingspan, but
Yeah.
Cole's,
It's not that
Cole's
small,
tall. But I'm
is it?
tall though.
Yeah, you're
Cole's
tall.
6'3". I mean, we're
Yeah.
got a
Old-
basketball lineup size
Dangly.
for
I think
Old man
Caleb.
strength.
the average height in the room might be over 6 feet today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
Caleb, sorry.
I'm right at.
You're the same height as
6
me.
foot. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and you are the same. We're the shortest ones in the room today. Okay, NFL. My husband's happy. Cowboys win last night. First
Cowboys
time.
won.
Crazy weekend.
See you, Tom Brady.
Yeah, I think he's
Done.
I have been a Tom Brady supporter, and I couldn't believe he won the Super Bowl at Tampa Bay his first year, to tell you the truth. But he looked old, and he looked like he
Tired.
might be done.
Yeah, his body language is getting worse too. He's a little more. I don't think he's got the patience.
He should have just
patience.
accepted he ended on that and
Yeah, he always been through a lot this year. So.
He's been
Yeah, he's
through a
had,
lot.
he's had
yeah.
a rough year.
Yeah,
everywhere,
tough year,
so.
and not a great team. Not that great this year.
Well,
So
and I saw the stat there. They're the worst in the league at running the ball. And
Are they?
as you know from football, if you cannot you cannot pass the whole time. You have to be able to run the ball.
especially at that level, it makes you pretty one dimensional and easy to game plan against. So
A 45 year old quarterback. This tells you how bad the run game is. Set a NFL record for most passes in a single season. Pass attempts.
There you go.
That's not
Ooh,
good.
I didn't know that.
I'm
That's,
in-
Yeah, their team's bad this year.
Yeah.
I can't believe them. I mean, it's probably a testament to him that they actually made the playoffs.
True.
I know.
He's one of a kind, but I saw a cool stat. Purdy was like, he's been playing football longer than I've been alive.
Yeah,
and I
isn't
was
that
like,
crazy?
oh my gosh, he's such a baby.
Yeah.
Niners.
Yeah, they're
Fire.
playing great.
Yeah, Purdy. It's a really cool
Such a cool story.
And George Kittle, Iowa State type connection. Like they're kind
Yeah.
of the top two guys that are going out on that team right now. Kittle's amazing too. By the
Yeah.
way, you watch him; he's such a freak.
Yeah.
Purdy over 300 yards passing, attributed 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. First ever rookie to do that. It's
insane stat.
Mr.
He's
Irrelevant.
still undefeated.
Yeah.
He's a stud.
Mr. Irrelevant, the last guy taken in the draft. He
LeBron
he barely
James
made the
tweeted
team.
him.
Yeah.
talk about being surrounded by good players, though. I mean, he does have a great supporting cast. I mean, he's playing well. Don't get me wrong, but and he should have had 5 touchdowns. Did you see Brandon Ayuk drop that one? He should have had 4 passing touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk dropped one towards the end of the game. It was 38 to whatever. It didn't really matter, but but he would have had 4 passing touchdowns.
That's a good lead into surrounding ourselves with a good team.
Yes,
right?
I was just
we got a great
that.
He's got a great organization around us, and that's what we're constantly doing. John,
I was thinking about
John's
the impact.
One of those guys. Yeah.
Like when you're around good players, it shows how good you are. Like sometimes some athletes I feel like get lost because you just have to have a good support staff.
Makes up for some of your flaws, some of our flaws, and good people. So excited to have John on today.
Yeah, let's bring him on.
I was gonna say real quick, 15 seconds. Super Bowl. Who's gonna be in the Super Bowl? Cole J.
Boy, I'm going to go Eagles, Bills, and Bills are going to win. Even though the Bills played poorly this past weekend, I believe in Josh Allen.
I got 49ers, Bills, and I think it's 49ers going with Brock Purdy, that story, and then the Bills with the Damar Hamlin thing, which we forgot to bring up. Damar Hamlin is out of the hospital. His charity's raised over $9 million. Things are looking up. Apparently, he was at the team facilities one day last week. So
such a cool story.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Dang, you took mine because I was going to go down that path. Niners and Bills, but I'll take the Bills.
God, we're heavy on the Bills. It's not a good sign.
I know, but
they'll probably lose.
They're on a. Okay, go.
I'm gonna be the odd one in the room. I'm gonna say Niners Bengals, and I'm gonna say the Niners are gonna win.
Okay.
All right.
Bengals get back to the Super Bowl for the second year in a row.
I think so. I
like
think
it.
the Bills showed some weakness this week, and so I think it'll be Bengals or Chiefs.
Everyone's sleeping on those
All right.
Jaguars.
I want to hear John. I want to
All
talk
right.
to John.
Let's get to John.
John, welcome back. First time repeat guest. Happy to have you.
Good to be back, Bailey.
He might pull an RG3 and have to leave. His wife's due any day with baby 3. Did you know that?
I did know that. Yeah, so you can have 3 under the age of 3.
Woof. Exactly. 3 in diapers.
Oh, wow. Good grief.
Cole
I did
didn't
not.
know. Look
I'm
at
like,
his face. Well, actually, last time.
God bless you, John.
Last time.
And your wife.
Our last one, we were walking in, and I was doing hot laps, and all of a sudden, John came out. He's like, "Hey, Bailey." I was like, "Hey." And he's like, "We just had a baby." I was like, "I'm gonna have a baby any minute." So we.
Kindred spirits.
Yeah. So September.
Okay, so your 2 babies were born on the same day?
2 days apart. So they were leaving the hospital.
Oh, okay.
I was doing the hot laps. So it was fun.
She was getting her steps in.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, right? Everyone, we did miles up there.
Yeah.
I think.
Gotta get your workout
in
in.
our couple.
Yeah.
Childbirth,
So
so-
congrats any day.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, we don't know what we're having. It will be a surprise.
Oh, that's cool.
fun.
They
Yeah,
have 2
that's fun.
boys. She wants a girl.
Uh-oh. You might have to fire for number 4.
We'll see.
Just be careful. Remember, they come in pairs sometimes.
Yeah.
That's right. You know.
There is some weird odds of when
Yeah.
if you've had 2 boys and you have a third, it's very likely that
Yeah.
you're gonna have a boy. I don't know what the math
Yeah.
is, but there's some stat out there. Who knows? That's on the internet. Could be fake news. So
Well, good
But-
luck. And real
Thank
quick
you.
before we get into it, because I know it just is so important for us to pair it up with people like you and our clients to have you as like a teammate of us. But real quick, just thank you so much for sticking up for me last time I couldn't be here and they were trying to just drag me under the mud. And John's like, no, she's pretty good.
And I stand by that.
Yeah.
Are you talking about basketball?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe
John
you were
and
talking
me-
about financial advising or
No.
something. like that.
No. John and me used to hoop back in the day.
We
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
A lot of time spent at the YMCA,
Yeah.
Fort Dodge Rec. So,
Shout
yeah,
out.
a lot of basketball.
now we're all gonna have kids.
Yeah.
Hooping and
Gotta
all that
coach.
good stuff. So
Yeah. Well,
right.
we didn't. I don't think we covered this. John is an attorney at Johnson Law Firm, and he's here to talk about wills, trusts, a couple of things that have changed in estate planning, things like that. So we're going to actually get into the business talk here and stop talking about Bailey's basketball here pretty soon.
Babies.
But John, yeah, thanks for being here. And we talked a lot about the changes that were happening on the Secure Act 2.0, which we talked about before the show. Didn't really have a lot of things for you guys to, as far as the legal side. But there is something coming up in 2026 where the state tax exemption falls back. So it's been basically doubled since Trump took office. And we don't talk about politics on the podcast. We're not going to go there. But in 2026, that expires. Correct.
It sunsets.
Sunsets.
So
Okay,
what that
I'm sorry.
means? Yep. So what that means is it's going to come back to pre-Tax Cuts and Jobs Act tax code legislation. So that means that will come back to the pre-2018 levels. So right now in 2023 for the estate tax, gift tax exemption, it's a unified amount. So the total would be $12,920,000. and that's tied together. So if you make a sizable gift right now, that reduces your overall exemption that you have when you pass away.
Explain before we get too far. Explain just in like for our listeners what the gift tax exemption actually, just simplify it down. Yeah, and then if you're above that amount, maybe explain that. I think that's where to understand if people understand if you pass away above that amount in your estate is explain how that works.
Yeah, so in year 2023, if I were to gift cash of $17,000 or any property to another individual worth $17,000 or less, essentially you don't have to worry about using up any of your gift tax exemption. Now, anything that would exceed that amount, you would be reducing your exemption amount. So what that means is, for example, if I were to make a gift of $100,000
to me,
to Cole Peterson here, that means that I would be, in essence, reducing my exemption by $83,000 because I can give up to $17,000 per person, but then anything in excess of that would reduce the exemption that I have at the time I pass away. So when I pass away, my exemption of $12,920,000, if I passed away in year 2023, would be reduced by that $83,000.
So if somebody passes away and has $100 million, and say we're just talking about a single person, let's just say,
they have $100 million in farmland.
Well, let's just say they have their estate's worth $100 million. Explain what estate tax is above that 12.9 million. That 87.1
There you
million.
Want to get your calculator out?
Yeah, 87.1 million. How would that be taxed?
Yes. So essentially, if you exceed that exemption amount, the excess amount will be subject to the federal estate tax, and that's about 40% of whatever that value would be.
Ouch. So 87.1 million. The person that inherits that $100 million is going to pay 40% tax on that 87 million.
The federal estate tax would be paid presumably through the estate. So whatever the estate has for funds, which would be everything in excess of that amount, would be used towards the federal estate tax. So you would have to file a form federal 706, and that's the estate tax return with the IRS. And you would have to show the amount that you exceed that exemption by, and then you're going to be owing a lot in federal estate tax.
So if this happened, say it was in assets, not in cash, there's a difference. So the estate would be forced to raise, say the value is $100 million, it was all in farmland. For example, the state would be forced to raise that 40% to pay that estate tax or whatever the estate tax amount came up.
Yeah, generally speaking, you'd presumably have to liquidate the farmland or some of the farmland to pay the tax that would be owed. Now, there may be some exceptions to that. You can try to compress values through a special use valuation.
There's nuisances.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
Nuances.
There you go. I didn't want to correct you. It's your birthday.
Yep.
Again, this conversation, this isn't like our average client, but it just shows the importance. And John, you got a lot of information changing on you and a lot to keep up with your job. So we always refer people like, hey, we don't do legal stuff. But we were talking about this before the episode. If you have a trust, if you don't have a trust, the pros and cons. And then you were talking about one time you had someone who had a trust set up but didn't have all the assets in it. So maybe going into example for someone, why would I want to trust? Why would it be important for me?
Oh, it really comes down to a personal preference of the clients. So a lot of my clients who want a revocable trust-based plan, their primary concern is maintain their privacy. So if they pass away, they don't have to go through probate, which is a court-supervised process of the administration of a person's will. So that's a matter of public record. So as a result, if you do have assets going through your will, you have to put together an inventory of your assets, and people, if they truly wanted to search court records, they could see what you had at the time you passed away.
And it can protect your heirs too, your family, because people are going to see what they inherit. I mean, if you have millions of dollars and your son, daughter, whoever's going to inherit your money, they're going to see that they're going to. So it does make sense also to protect your kids or whoever is going to be your heirs as well.
Exactly. And it may be a little bit more of an expedited process too. So, but the important thing is if you're going with the trust-based plan, you have to retitle your assets appropriately. or at least take care of them through a beneficiary designation of some sort correctly. And there's a lot to that. So that's where it's crucial that if you're working with a financial advisor, accountants, whatever the case may be, everyone's working together to make sure that the plan is appropriate for the client. So saying that, Bailey, you had mentioned that we had spoken earlier about an example. Recently I had worked on an administration for a person who had passed away, and I had not handled the initial setup of the revocable trust-based plan. I think it was taken care of almost like 20 years ago, in fact, in another state. But when that person moved to Iowa, didn't have anything changed, and then had initially transferred the assets to the trust, but didn't keep up with it.
Yeah,
so,
they started buying things and then not having them titled into the trust. So every car they got, bank accounts, house, they maybe didn't title into the trust. So they had half their assets that were titled into the trust, half that were not. And then
what does that do, John?
Then you got to do both.
And then you have two separate administrations. You have the trust administration, and then you have the probate estate administration.
Sounds like John's getting paid more. I'm just kidding.
Double the work. But just from the standpoint of costs, it can be more just because you include court costs now, right? Because you're going through the court system. So in essence, they were trying to keep things simple and maintain the privacy, but then they've kind of forgot how it worked, I assume. And then we had to go through probate to get those assets transferred over to the trust.
What about when someone moves states? This is should they consult, an attorney in that, say they actually change residency, where then maybe there's different estate, at the state level, taxation, how do you talk about that, or what's like best practice, I would say, in that scenario?
So I typically recommend that people consult. So if they move to a different state, so if they start here in Iowa, they move to another state, I would always recommend that they consult with an estate planning attorney in that new state. Every state's different. For instance, I had this recently where there was a primary trust administration in another state. I had someone reach out to me because there was some real estate located here in Iowa. We had to go through the trust administration here as well. In Iowa, we have what's called an inheritance tax that's purely based on the relationship of the person that is receiving the property to the person that passed away. So for instance, a spouse, children, grandchildren, charities, assuming they're 501c3, would be exempt from the Iowa inheritance tax. So most times people would have a plan where they leave it either to the surviving spouse or children, grandchildren. You don't have to worry about that Iowa inheritance tax. But in this case, they had nieces and nephews that were going to be receiving. So as a result, they were going to be subject to Iowa inheritance tax. And that is a nuance that the estate planning attorney in the other state wouldn't know about because it's specific to Iowa.
Yep.
That's a good question.
That is a great, and it's a good example too. So, just people that we have clients that, shift from, maybe state level tax states, like Arizona, Florida, or, ones there. So that's a valid thing, and make sure they're having that discussion with their estate planning attorneys.
And I will say too, it's worth noting, we were talking about the federal estate tax exemption earlier and the sunset January 1st, 2026. But with the Iowa inheritance tax, that is set to be repealed January 1st, 2025. So in Iowa, we won't have to worry about that anymore.
At all?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Great state.
Yeah. So this is obviously a good reason to get with someone like John when you're talking about your state planning, because we were talking about this too, is like retirement, going from state to state doesn't really change a whole lot other than the taxation. Which Iowa went away from the state taxation on retirement distributions. But other than that, law changes a lot from state to state is what you're kind of telling. What you're telling us. Yeah.
And the law is the law, right? There's no going back. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Thank you, John. That was great. We'll be right back.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital.
Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market.
Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarketwith2ks.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.
That's digital agent at spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026, or visit our website www.spinmarket.com.
All right, welcome back. We're going to do a quick little dollars and cents.
Dollar bills, y'all.
John liked that coin drop. He got a little smirk. I'm going to let the birthday boy give us some positivity.
Yeah, for this week's dollars and cents, positive. It's a Tuesday here, my birthday. Positivity, right? The market's so far year to date trending in a good direction. So, we came off a pretty poor last year, but just give the major indices, the S&P as of close of market last Friday, which today is January 17th. The S&P 500 was up 4.22%. The Dow Jones was up 3.54%, and the NASDAQ was up almost 6%. So,
NASDAQ was down 33% last year, so it had a lot of way.
We got some room to run, but it's on a positivity.
Right.
It.
And we kind of thought that would happen after the start of the new year. It's like new year, new things. People are like, oh, okay, well, things are trending in the right direction. Then we'll start buying things on the way up.
Yeah.
Which you should buy things when they're down. But
I'm going to give a little plug for diversification too. So the European market as a whole, I'm not going to go into the individual indexes there, but as of last Friday was only down 7% from their all-time highs. So if you think of like diversification, right, and not a lot of people had a lot of European exposure. It's probably very small for the most part of people's portfolios, but it is a thing is that we're seeing overseas markets have actually, rallied quietly, more than probably a lot of people know. So you do have some balanced diversification in your portfolio. You think if you're only 7% off all-time highs, we're here, our markets, we're 20%.
International has been painful over the last 5 to 10 years.
It's been hard.
It's been hard, but actually that's something that kept people afloat last year was if they had some European exposure. It was positive, but
take it green.
Yeah,
I'll take all the green we can get.
Positivity.
Speaking of green, we got a Gale Green. John played a little basketball back in his day, right? John?
St. Edmund Gale.
Yeah, you were. I'm just gonna give you a props. I can't remember. You had some stats though, but there's like 3 games in a row. I think you only missed like 1 shot. I don't know. You were a little like mini.
You remember that, John? Only missing 1 shot.
Well, that was talked about. He's like, Bailey, stop.
Did you play college basketball too?
Yeah,
I did over at Briarcliff University in Sioux City.
Oh, okay, nice.
4 years
All
there.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had 3 teammates go to Briarcliff after Iowa Central.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and then we played them at Sioux Falls.
That's right. You
Killed
were
them.
Yeah.
Killed them. Oh, of course you'd say
Don't
that.
need to
Bailey.
talk about that.
Yeah.
But
then off to law school, or did you play any after college?
Well, off the law school where I played in intramurals. I did play on the law school basketball team.
I love it.
We made it to the semifinals.
were you MVP?
We didn't advance far enough. We were hoping to play at Williams Arena where the Gophers play up there, but we were 1 game short.
Now you're a dad of 3 soon.
Yep.
I'm a
Times
dad
have
pretty
changed.
soon.
Now you gotta live through our kids.
Yep,
so.
vicariously through them. Yep.
All right, John, we didn't get real quick because it's just great to hear how passionate you guys are about the market and finances. And it's great to have John's take. But John, what's your take on the Super Bowl? We didn't get it. I got it real quick. Who's winning? Who is it?
Well, my Vikings were defeated last weekend.
Oh, you're a Vikings fan?
Yeah, and I saw that one coming though, so it's not like I'm surprised. I am gonna go with the 49ers as Super Bowl champs over the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, I like
okay,
it.
I like
That's
it.
a good one.
Chalk. Going chalk.
Yeah.
I think
Going chalk.
I guess would the Eagles be chalk because they're number 1 seed? Okay. All right.
Caleb's shaking his head yes.
But I think the favorites to go to the Super Bowl are the 49ers. So yeah,
There's a lot
They're
of
the
concern
they
with
seem like
Jalen Hurts right
they're
now.
the hottest team right now. You can tell playing. They got a lot of momentum. Defense is like stout. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
good
right.
shot.
Very chalky.
And that's my guy, Brock Purdy, too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
got to root
there
for
you
the
go.
Iowa State guy.
Yep.
It's awesome. It really is. All right. So we were talking about having a trust, having it set up correctly. So explain to me if I don't have a trust and I just have a will.
So if you have a will as your primary plan, which the vast majority of people do, when you pass away, assuming that the assets are not jointly owned or taken care of by beneficiary designation, they will flow through your will. And so then you would go through the court-supervised process of probate. So, just kind of in a nutshell how that works, You take the will, you file it with the opening paperwork to appoint someone as the nominated executor. Once the executor is appointed, that person is basically responsible for handling the estate administration. So they are the fiduciary for the estate. So collecting assets, valuing assets, paying bills, publishing notice in the paper to the creditors, sending notices to heirs and beneficiaries, and also the spouse to make a spousal election, and then putting together an inventory, too, of all the assets, showing the date of death values, and then making sure all the tax returns are taken care of. And
that's just you're still going.
Yeah, the executor has a lot to do, especially if it's complicated. And I think that word probate gets a lot of flack. Like, people are like, I don't want to go through probate.
It feels icky, like you get tense just hearing it.
It's really not that bad of a thing. I mean, there's some costs involved with it, and you can explain it better than I can, but in most people's cases, it makes sense to just do a will and go through probate, correct?
Yeah, and we talked about earlier about people with the trust, and some people aren't fit to have a trust because their bookkeeping may not be great, or as far as making sure of how the trust works. You know, they keep assets in their individual names, so you have to go through probate regardless. So some people don't want to go through the hassle of retitling assets up front, so they just say, I'm going to have this will catch all my assets that aren't taken care of by joint ownership or beneficiary designation and go through that process. And for a lot of them, they're okay with that. You know, most times I meet with clients and we go over the pros and cons of each, and then I leave it up to them for what they would prefer. A lot of people have the mindset, well, if I'm not going to be around, I'm okay with whatever takes place.
They don't have to do it.
So just, I mean, I'm an open book, as you guys know. Like, I have a will-based plan. I don't have a trust. I don't have my assets titled into a trust or anything like that. If me and Molly passed away right now, I mean, there's not a lot that I mean, my kids are going to.
The kids are the big thing, right?
Right. So we have those obviously taken care of by naming a guardian and things like that in our will. But as far as having a trust, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me right now to have to hide things from people in a trust. There aren't a lot of assets that I have to hide, I guess.
I have a question. I was just kind of thinking here. If you were to rank, and again, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, like, what would be, so younger couple, think new family, kind of prioritizing, say, we're always prioritizing like the finance side of like, here, you should have some life insurance, you should save in a Roth, those type of things. On the estate planning side, obviously we're talking about wills, but having maybe their power of attorney, their health power of attorney. Talk about that a little bit, of like having that and making sure that's in place.
Yeah, so with the powers of attorney, there's a financial power of attorney and then a medical power of attorney, and those are effective while you're alive. So, for instance, if you become incapacitated, you can appoint someone under your financial power of attorney to step in as your agent to basically handle your assets for you, pay your bills, take care of taxes, and you're appointing someone that you want in that event.
Typically your spouse or your significant other, and then you have a backup to that.
How does it work if you don't have something in place? So explain, that's one thing. I think the implications of not having some of this stuff, like as you're talking about it.
Yeah, then most likely you would have to go through a conservatorship. And that is also a court supervised process where you have to have a conservator appointed to manage your assets for you, pay your bills, take care of your taxes. And, with that, you have to file annual reports. You may have to file a bond, which is kind of like an insurance policy just in case your conservator runs off with all the funds.
Sounds a lot more extensive than just going to meet with you for a couple hours and getting a plan ahead of time.
And it's not the person you're choosing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's more cost effective to probably have a financial power of attorney in place, and you can actually appoint the person you want to step in that role.
Because also there can be two people battling about who's going to be the decision maker, and you don't get to make that decision, obviously, if you can't make that decision. So,
and sadly, we have seen that where you end up in a conservatorship proceeding and people are battling to be appointed as a conservator, and it can tear a lot of families up. And so on the flip side of that, too, you have the medical power of attorney where you're appointing an agent to make healthcare related decisions for you in the event that you're unable to. So again, you can appoint the person that you want. Otherwise, you may have to go through a guardianship which is also a court-supervised process to appoint someone to make healthcare decisions for you.
I don't want Bailey making the decision on whether to pull the plug on me or not. So.
I'm a POA for someone. I'm a POA.
Yeah, I got Molly making the decision. She's gonna rip that thing out of the wall so quick.
I got Luke as my POA, but I just have a letter written out to tell him what to
do. Oh my gosh,
guys, I'm kidding. Guys,
you know he doesn't have to follow that letter.
Yeah.
You know he will because he loves me dearly, and he knows I
to be determined.
The best decisions.
Yeah. If you can't help out with the kids, I don't know if you're much good to them.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Anyways, and just stress the importance. I don't know why I said yeah. Guys, my husband knows he's got
get back on track here.
Come on.
Get back
but
on
just
the
stress the importance too of like having kids. And you mentioned something about tearing family up, and I know we've had you on an episode before and we've talked about some of this, but it's just so important to have these things lined up, have them communicated with your advisors. How many people do you think you see that come in all various ages that don't even have a will or trust set up yet, and you're like, wow, I wish this would have already been set up. You know what I mean?
Quite a bit. The nice thing is most times it's if they're there, it's not a problem yet, right? So now I've seen it on the other side where there have been some disastrous results of people who didn't have an estate plan, so they didn't have a will or a trust. For instance, I would say that I had a case probably several years ago in which there was an ancillary administration here in Iowa. The decedent was, at the time of his death, estranged from his wife, had never formally gotten divorced, and at that point in time, presumably would have left everything that he could to a brother that he was very close to. Well, he never had a will done.
Oh, boy.
So as a result, 100% of the estate went to the estranged wife because he didn't dictate that he wanted to leave at least a portion to his brother. So 100% goes to the estranged wife, and she happened to be in a nursing home, so a lot of that was used for her care.
Oh, boy.
And so, yeah, it can be kind of messy. You know, I have another example where someone passed away, didn't have, this was early on in my career, where the person didn't have any children, didn't have a surviving spouse, had assets, didn't have any parents that survived her, no siblings. So we had to rely, when someone passes away with no will, you have to rely on the rules of intestacy or the laws of intestacy. And so basically it's a default will that the Iowa law provides for you. So we had to make our way down the line as far as, okay, who's going to receive this property?
Who gets that money in that case?
So
the church?
We actually had to hire a company to locate heirs of this person.
This sounds like Mr. Deeds. You guys seen that?
Yeah, it does.
It's like $80 million from his uncle.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering, how you figure out if they don't have any close family, like where that eventually someone's got to
probably go to a niece or a nephew.
Yeah. So I think the way it worked was one half of it went to the paternal grandparent side, and then one side went to the maternal grandparent side, and then it got divvied out accordingly. So I want to say that there were like 22 beneficiaries.
Oh my God.
That we found. But we found them, and we were able to close up the estate, and there was a significant amount of inheritance tax that was owed within Iowa because nieces, nephews, or second cousins twice removed,
pretty extended out there.
It was really extended, but that just provides a couple examples of the importance of having something, especially if you're not wanting to rely on that default will.
Yeah, for sure. And you brought this up too. I mean, probably the most common thing that I hear in our financial advising side of the business is I don't want the nursing home to get all of my money. I don't want to get in the nursing home and then have all my money go to them, or have the farmland, have to be sold and all that money go to them. So, talk a little bit about the 5-year look back and why a person would do an irrevocable trust, just briefly, because I know irrevocable trust is kind of a lengthy process.
Well, it really just depends. So with the 5-year look back, essentially what that means is if I were to transfer $100,000 to a child and I knew, or there was a chance that I was going to be going into a nursing home, there's a 5-year look back period. So if I do it day one and then 2 years later I end up in a nursing home and I don't have any other funds to pay for my private care, then there's going to be that 5-year look back period that kicks in and is basically going to recapture the $100,000 that I would have gifted away.
So instead of that person going on Medicaid, they're going to say, no, that $100,000 that you gave to Johnny 2 years ago,
Give it back.
Yeah, that's coming back, and that's going to pay for your care. So that's just something that we hear a lot. It's like, I'm just going to give all my money away, and then I'll just go on Medicaid. Well, you're going to need to keep 5 years of living expenses, because you can't go on Medicaid for that 5 years, because there's that look back. And then most people don't have enough assets to be doing that. So, but it does happen.
Yeah, it does. And there are a variety of ways in which you can try to structure an estate plan to maybe prevent an issue like that. You had mentioned like an irrevocable trust potentially, or, creating a retained life estate, not to get too much into the weeds there, but there are a variety of things that you can do. And, especially on that side, I mean, it's a very complex, fluid area. So it's really difficult. If someone has that issue, they need to talk with a specialist.
For sure.
All right. Well, that's awesome. That was a lot of information. I feel like we talked about a bunch in a little time. But
a lot of topics.
I'm looking at Caleb, and he's like, wrap it up probably.
Sure.
John, we appreciate you so much. Our first repeat guest, just to shout you out, I think.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Caleb, didn't you say John's first episode was one of our most listened to? See, this information's valuable.
Wow.
And
or it's the name, the John Engler, local,
local basketball star,
Yeah,
3
local
kids.
celebrity.
But me and Caleb, I told Caleb this, and this is awesome, so people are listening. We had a couple people walk into the office the other day, a son-dad duo, and the son had been listening to the podcast, and I think we were talking about the independent agent sign, and they want to meet with us, so it's great. So find us. And I got a special quote today. It's a 49ers quote, because we end John now on sports. Today, I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't. Jerry Rice, San Fran.
Love it.
Go Cubs.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You've been listening to How to Money with Cole and Cole, the podcast of the Central Financial Group, courtesy of Spin Market. To learn more, visit their website at www.centralfinancialgroup.com and follow them on all their social media platforms.
For now, I'm Cole.
And I'm Cole.
And we'll see you on the greens.
4.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated, member FINRA, SIPC. Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated. Material discussed is meant for general informational purposes only, and it is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Diversification does not insure against loss. Any guarantees discussed refer only to fixed insurance products and are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.